Do you feel like you're stuck at a strength plateau and no matter what you do, you just can't add more weight to the bar? If this sounds like you, I got 5 reasons why you might be at a strength plateau, and I'm gonna tell you to fix it in 5 simple steps. So stay tuned. What's going on, guys? Rich here for Fit Fusion Brotherhood, and we're gonna really dive into why you might be stuck at a strength plateau and how to really fix it. It's probably a lot easier than you think. Now, to give you a bit of context, if you don't know who I am, I'll kind of give you my height, my weight, and some of the lifts I have. That way you know what I'm talking about when it comes to strength. So I'm not a big guy. I'm like 5'8 and a half, 170. I say 8.5 because when you're in the 5'8 range, every half inch matters. And this is one of those ones where if you're in the dating profile back in the day, you bumped up to 5'9", right? So about 5'8 and a half, 170. So I'm really not a big guy. And I would say two of my better movements in terms of strength. I've lunged 235 pounds with the barbell before for about 6 reps per side. And I've deadlifted over 4 plates for 3 to 4 reps. So 415, 420 for about 3 to 4 reps. So I don't say that to brag. I say this because I know what I'm talking about when it comes to strength, and you can plug and play these tips I'm going to give you today. And now if you're at that strength plateau, it's going to smash it for you and your strength's going to skyrocket pretty easily. So we do have a masterclass coming up in terms of how to lose stubborn belly fat, gain more strength, and we're going to really kind of dive into the workouts of what you need to do. So if you don't want to register for that, I'll put the link in the comments below. But for now, we're going to get to the video, 5 reasons why you might be stuck and how to simply fix them. So you're going to enjoy this one. Stay tuned. Reason number 1, your sleep sucks and or your calories are too low. Now, the other 4 reasons, I can really dive into workout-based reasons why your strength might be stuck, but I do want to touch on nutrition recovery because if we don't, we're just kind of lying to ourselves, because if you don't sleep right and you're starving yourself, your strength is going to be stuck at a plateau, and no matter what you do in the gym, like you could be doing everything great in the gym, your strength is simply not going to go up. So if you're sleeping 5 to 6 hours a night, but like I said, you're doing everything right in the gym, it's like trying to build a house on a bad foundation. Like you might have the right pieces, you might be doing everything good, but the foundation sucks like underneath, it's gonna crumble over and eventually it's gonna fail and it's not gonna work. So you do want to make sure you prioritize sleep because sleep is quote unquote anabolic. And if you sleep like crap, you're simply just going to not maximize your recovery. And if you aren't recovering enough from your workouts, on obviously in this case talking about sleep, then your strength's not going to go up. It's really that simple. I can kind of get to the nerd stuff, but I'm not going to. And I put down calories too low as well because I kind of want to combine it into nutrition recovery. So obviously you can still build strength while losing stubborn belly fat for sure. But if you're starving yourself and like let's say you're only taking like, if you're a guy only taking like 1,500 calories a day, you're not going to get that strong in the gym, right? Like maybe a little bit, but at some point, your strength will be stuck at a plateau and you're going to have to bump up your calories and obviously making sure your protein's on point. So to kind of summarize reason number 1, like I said, you can do everything perfectly in the gym, but if your calories are too low and they're only sleeping 5 to 6 hours a night, it's just simply you're going to be stuck at a plateau and your strength's not going to go up. And this is the first reason you're going to want to address. So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2, you aren't consistent enough. Now there's 2 points that kind of ties into the consistency here, and it's completely separate, but you'll kind of see what I mean. Reason number 1, this is the obvious one. You got to be consistent with your workouts, right? Like if you're missing workouts, you maybe 1 week you do 3 workouts, 1 week you do 4, 1 week you don't do anything altogether. You're not gonna get stronger if you don't have that consistency in terms of showing up to the gym each week, right? It's like missing a day at your work, right? Your job. If you just miss 1 day a week or you just don't show up 1 week, I'm assuming your boss isn't gonna be too happy with you and you're not getting great results at your job. It's the same when it comes to working out in the gym. Now, reason number 2 that kind of ties into consistency here is, are you just randomly changing up exercises every single time? And that's what I mean about, are you consistent enough? Like, for example, if I'm in week 1 of the month bench press, am I doing that for at least 4 weeks where I can add more weight, maybe decrease reps as I add more weight over the course of 4 to 6 weeks? Or am I just doing bench press 1 week, chest press 1 week, chest flies another week, and you're just kind of randomly changing things up without any set structure? So number 1, you gotta be consistent with your workouts, like I said. But number 2, you gotta make sure you're doing movements for a course of period of time, right? Like I'm not saying you have to do this for like 3-4 months. It's gonna bang your head against the wall if you're stuck. But if you're just randomly changing things up constantly and you're in the work of the day or CrossFit stuff or you don't have any set structure, well, you can't really expect your strength to go at least too high. And you wanna make sure you're doing these movements over at least 4 weeks, let's say. That way you can build strength on those movements and get better at those movements at the same time. So reason number 2, you aren't consistent enough with maybe your workouts over how many times you're doing it per week, or you're just changing things up way too often. Reason number 3, you're overtraining and or you're pushing too close to failure. Now you might be like, what are you talking about? Like in order to increase your strength, you gotta like, push close to failure, you gotta go past your limits. To a certain degree, yes, but I'm gonna tell you this. Strength is very different opposed to like aesthetics, muscle hypertrophy, fat loss, whatever you want to kind of say. Don't believe me? I'll give you a real example right here. My legs, my quads, super small. Like I lunge strength if I have 35 pounds, but it looks like I've had legs of a 13-year-old because I focus more on strength, at least back in the day when I, used to lift heavy, and not necessarily as much hypertrophy in terms of like aesthetics. So it's very different because if you're pushing too close to failure and or you're overtraining, this kind of ties back to point number one. It's going to impact your recovery. And if you aren't recovering well enough from your workouts, your sleep, kind of everything kind of mixed in there, then your strength just simply isn't going to maximize. So yes, for strength, you want to go heavy and you want to push yourself. However, if you're taking every single set to failure, especially lengthened movements, what I mean by lengthened movements, where it's kind of that stretch position, whether it's like an RDL, bench presses, most of your major compound movements, that's going to really impact your recovery, and that causes a lot of stress and fatigue on the body. And if you're fatiguing your body, you're stressing your body with going close to failure a lot and overtraining, and again, you're tying back to point number one, maybe you're not sleeping right, then it's going to directly impact your strength, and that's probably a reason why your strength is going to go up. So the fix here is pretty simple. Like you want to push heavy, you want to go hard, but think quality over quantity. So you might have to back off the sets, especially if your workouts are over like 60 minutes plus. So maybe do a little less volume. And number two, again, you're pushing heavy, you're going hard, but at the same time, you're not pushing to failure. That's why like in powerlifting, it's very rare you'll see someone actually go to failure, at least when they're training the build up the competition, because they want to get strong, but they're not just taking everything to failure because it's going to impact their recovery. So reason number three, you're overtraining and or you're pushing too close to failure on a lot of your sets. Reason number four, you're scared to go outside your comfort zone and or you're doing the same routine over and over again. Now you might be thinking, Rich, what are you talking about? Like in point number two, you said you could do similar movements for a period of time. That's true. However, if you're doing like the same workouts, the same exercises, the same reps, the same sets, the same tempo for months and months and months, and you're not really getting any result and your strength staying the same, well, that's also saying you got to change things up. So there is a U-shaped curve, right? Like obviously you don't want to change things up every single day, but at the same time, you want to make sure you're not just flatlining it and do the same thing over and over again. It's like in life, right? No matter what you do, if you do the same thing over and over again, whether it's your relationship or whether it's your job or whether it's like playing a sport, whatever it might be, and you're really not pushing yourself and you're trying to get better at it, then how can you expect better results? Exact same thing. So how I kind of like to structure this, I'll give you a real life example right here in terms of when you should kind of change things up and how to really do this. So let's say week number one, you're doing like we'll do a bench press, pretty good example, a bench press. I always kind of, tell my clients or myself, do about 12 reps for week number one at let's say 100 pounds, whatever it be, whatever weight you do. Maybe it's a lot more, maybe it's less. Week number two, maybe you do 115 pounds for about 10 reps. Week number three, maybe it's 120, 130 pounds for 8 to 9 reps. And then week number four, it could be about maybe 130, 135 for about 6 to 8 reps. And I typically kind of do this about 4 to 6 weeks. And you just kind of recycle that over the course of your workouts. And then if you're still progressing, keep going as long as you can. But if you get stuck at a standstill, that might be time to change things up. So instead of maybe, let's say you maximize bench press for 6 weeks, at 6 weeks you're kind of stuck, then you might want to do like maybe a chest fly or a chest press where you're still working the same muscle, but you're just going to change the movement around a little bit. That way, you're just changing things up a little bit and you're working on more stability with dumbbells, or you're changing the strength curve with a machine chest fly, whatever it might be. So yes, you don't want to change things up super often, like every single workout, but at the same time, you want to make sure you're not doing the same thing over and over and over again, because you're just simply not going to get better results that way. So reason number four, you're doing the same thing and you're not going out of your comfort zone. That might be the reason why your strength might not be going up. Reason number five, and this is probably the most underrated one, I would say, your break times aren't long enough or they're just way too inconsistent. Now think about that, right? Like when you're doing your sets at the gym, like are you timing yourself? And I'm not saying you have to, I don't do it myself, but like, are you pretty consistent with your break times? Because if you take a minute break compared to a minute 30 break compared to 2-minute breaks, that 1 minute to 2 minute break time is gonna severely impact how well you're gonna be doing on your next sets, right? Like it makes sense. Think of like a baseball pitcher. If you're throwing like 100 miles per hour one time and you get the ball back and 5 seconds later you're gonna throw it again, it's probably not gonna be 100 miles per hour. The velocity is gonna drop off. But if you're gonna reset, gather yourself, and you have that consistent break time between pitches, then your speed is gonna be a lot more consistent. It's the same thing now when it comes to working out. Obviously, the longer the break time you have, the better it's going to be. So if you can push like 2 minutes, 2:30 on some of your movements to get the time for it, that's the best bang for your buck. But if you can't go that long, let's say you only have like a minute 30 break time that you want to do because you have to get in and out of the gym, then just make sure you're consistent with your break time. Because again, it's going to really impact even a minute 45 to like a minute 15 on like a bench press. It's gonna be a huge difference. If you're doing something like a squat where you're using major muscles, maybe recovery is the limiting factor, not necessarily muscles, different story. But if it's like a bench press where you're kind of getting the chest, shoulders, I guarantee your results will be a lot worse with that less break time. So keep that in mind. Again, you don't necessarily track it, but definitely be consistent with it, because if you're not, your strength's not gonna be the same, and it might actually decrease, especially if the rest times start going down. So to recap this, so you have 5 reasons. Again, I'm just gonna kind of look at my notes right here so don't forget, so kind of bear with the eyes. Reason number 1, again, your sleep and recovery potentially sucks, because if you're sleeping only 5-6 hours a night and you're just not taking care of your recovery, your strength's not gonna maximize. Number 2, you're not consistent enough. So remember, this could be just like missing workouts, or you're just not getting the same movements over the course of 4 to 6 weeks and getting better at them. Reason number 3, you're overtraining or pushing too close to failure. So again, this is the one that this is often overlooked, but remember, strength is very different than aesthetics. And if you're taking every set to failure, that's gonna impact your recovery, which is gonna impact your strength. Reason number 4, you're scared to go outside your comfort zone, and you're doing the same routine. So again, if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you expect your strength to go up, it's probably not gonna happen, right? Like realistically. And reason number 5, your break times aren't long enough. I kind of just talked about that, so I'm not gonna recap that too much here. If you're looking to improve your strength, lose stubborn belly fat, and even build some muscle as well, like I said, we're gonna host a free masterclass next Thursday. I think it's October, whatever it is, maybe October 1st. I don't know what day it is, but next Thursday night at 8 p.m. If you can't make it live, it's no problem. You can make the replay as well. But I'm gonna drop the link in it below. So make sure to register for it. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna go over so many details in terms of why maybe you can't lose that stubborn belly fat, how to increase your strength, and how to do it injury-free. And we're gonna break down a lot of myths as well. So register, it's free, obviously needs to say. So get your seat, and again, if you can't make it live, you can still get it, and you'll get access to the replay, and it's gonna be some fantastic information. We'll go for about 45 to 55 minutes long, give you guys pure value. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and we'll talk soon.